Hey y'all, welcome back to another episode of ENC Question Reflection, where you learn truth, knowledge, and understanding. Before we get started, I do want to go ahead and remind you that if you have not done so already, to go ahead and subscribe to this channel. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Also, make sure that when you do subscribe on YouTube, that you hit the notification bell and select all, so that you make sure that you get all the material. Also, you want to make sure that you follow us on Instagram, on Facebook, not just like the page, because you won't get the material. So with that being said, we're going to go ahead and talk about, would you intervene? Yes or no? Would you intervene, or do you think that should a man intervene if he sees a woman being beat by another man? So like most of my topics, there are two sides to every story. And one of those sides is yes, they should, and no, they shouldn't. There's a couple of reasons why I personally think it goes both ways. Of course, one of my reasons for my lives is to get other people's opinions on specific topics like this. So, hey Sanjay, how you doing today? That's funny that you say that. So, why? Since you say that, why? So while you're answering that, I'm gonna go ahead and tell you why it can go either way. A lot of people would say yes. If you're old school and you're back in the day, hey Gavin, see, Gavin says you should. Hey Ralph, how y'all doing today? So a lot of people would say no. Yeah, they should, because I mean, if you're old school, be like, yeah, it's a man. A man sees a woman in desperate need. You know, she's gentle, and she's finesse, and she's all this, and so a man should definitely go and fight for her if she's being beat up by another man. Some people would say no. Stay out of people's business. You know, that's people's business. And it really can go, it can go either way. I'm going to tell you this. I think that it depends on the situation, because you have to be super duper cautious when you're putting yourself in someone else's business. Just because you think that a man should defend a woman, and we would say, yeah, he should, but majority of the time you're putting yourself in harm's way, and you have absolutely no idea what's really going on. So I'm going to show you this short video, and this just goes to one side of it. I think we can pretty much tell. Hey Robert, how you doing? So we can pretty much tell, well, if a woman needs help, she needs help. But I'm going to show you this short video. People on Facebook, you're going to have to go over to my YouTube page to be able to see this video. So if you want to go over there and check it out really quick, then you can do that. It's a really short, it's only 15 seconds, but my followers on YouTube, you're going to be able to watch this video, and you'll be able to see what I mean by you don't know the situation, so you have to be careful. And there's a couple more examples that I have where we have to be careful before we jump into other people's business. So with that being said, give me just a second, and I'm going to go ahead and show you this video. Now call that excessive if you won't. Call that excessive if you want to. But you saw in the beginning of this video, that man was taking it. That lady hit him. She kicked him. She was doing the most. Actually, I might be able to replay this video just so the people on Facebook can actually see it. Let's see if I can flip the camera, and I'll actually let you watch it. because it was something to be seen. And that way in YouTube, you guys can see it again. So here, you're just going to have to watch it off of my computer. Look at him. Nah. Whew. Lord Jesus. So look, hey Shelton, and you would say that. So look, that's just a prime example of how you don't know what other people are going through. I know I did a video about men and domestic violence and how men actually can be they can be getting abused too. If you haven't watched it, you should go watch it. But you're dealing with a woman in this case who is hitting him and kicking him. Should he have went as hard as he did? Absolutely not. One thing men have to realize is that they're a lot stronger than women are. I don't care how strong a woman is. I watched a video today about a woman. She's the strongest woman in the world. And she was arm wrestling with just your average men. And she was getting beat by your average men. So I think it's important that men understand how strong they are to women. But what I don't necessarily agree with is women who do stuff like this, where you're provoking a man the way that she was, and then not expect to get something back. You know, I don't agree with women who do that, who will entice a man to want to do something to them or want to beat on them. And you keep hitting him and kicking him and doing all these other things, and he's not doing anything to you. It's like you keep asking. It's like you keep asking for him to hit me back. And then when he does, you play the victim. So I don't necessarily like that kind of stuff. And in this kind of case, maybe someone intervening as such as, hey, chill out. And then hopefully he chills out. But I'm going to give you an example of someone. His name was Jonathan Price. And I don't know if a lot of you have already heard of him, but he's one of the examples I'm going to use of why you should be very cautious when you're intervening with people. Okay, Duran, we can do that. You have to be very cautious when you are when you're intervening, because in Jonathan Price's case, and I know a lot of people are going to go, oh, well, he was talking like this to the police and stuff like that. That ain't got nothing to do with what I'm talking about. It's the beginning of it. So he saw a domestic dispute taking place. He saw a man doing these things to a woman, and he intervened. So had he just minded his own business and went about his business, he would probably be living today. But you don't know the situation in itself. So you have to be cautious whenever you're trying to intervene in the middle of someone else's domestic dispute. Not saying that a man shouldn't or that he should, but I think that he should be cautious. I think he should be cautious about it. So hold on just a second. There you are. You should definitely be cautious. Okay, so Vita says, I teach my girls not to hit men. You should. I was a victim of domestic violence, and we don't get to choose our consequences. Also, I intervened once, and they both turned on me. There's a whole story about that, Vita. And Shelton says if he's beating her, I believe everyone should do something. Like I said, you would say that, Deputy Williams. You would say that. But in all actuality, Vita, there is an actual story about this where a woman and a man, boyfriend and girlfriend, were having an argument. They were having a dispute. And she calls her best friend and she's like, hey, he's over here beating on me and doing this kind of stuff to me. And so her best friend's like, okay, I'm on my way. And she heads over there. Well, when she got there, she got in the middle of their business and they both turned on her and actually ended up killing her. So we have to be really cautious about getting in the midst of other people because, it's their business. And I know there's a saying that says, well, if my man beats on me and I forgive him, but I go and I tell other people, it's not necessarily believing that they won't. Hey, Jada, hey, baby, I love you too. It doesn't necessarily mean that when you get there, they're not going to be like, because you might start yelling at the man like, hey, you can't talk to her like that. And then here she is over here talking about something. I don't talk to my man like that. Well, wait a minute. Then you call me. And it turns into all this chaos and this craziness because we have to understand that this is not our business. No, we don't want other people to hurt our family members. But then again, it's just not our business. And people are getting hurt by getting in other people's business. It's why people are they see somebody going through something outside the room, like, ugh, I don't know if I should get in the middle of that. Because you just don't know what has happened or what has occurred before you got there. So let's see. Oh, gosh. All right, welcome. How are you doing?
Hello, Mrs. Williams.
Duran, how are you doing today?
Lovely. How about yourself?
Hanging in there, can't complain. Same stuff, different day. Facebook,
hey.
Can y'all hear him? No.
This show right here, this is why they pay the big bucks. This is a very, very hard question. So I'm going to answer it in two parts. Now, and look, I'm going to get a lot of flack from men and women on this, so and I'm cool with it. But because it's an impossible situation. But I think if you see a man beating on a woman, you should intervene and get him off of her. Because there's no telling what that woman did. So if you want to jump in and fight the man and try to beat him up, I think that's the wrong move. You should stay out of people's business. You should try to make sure the situation is handled as far as like her not getting her face beat in. But I don't think you should intervene beyond that. You never know what the hell happened.
So have you heard about Jonathan Price? Did you hear about that story?
Jonathan Price? No, tell me about it.
So it was a man that had just moved to Texas, and he saw a man and a woman. They were arguing. He was doing some things to her, and he intervened in it. And when it came down to it, he called the police. The police was called and stuff. So he had gotten in the middle of these two people, strange people. He didn't even know who they were. And when he got there, the police thought he was drunk. So they tried to detain him. Even though he got in the middle. Now, he wouldn't even been in the presence of the police had he just, went about his business. And it turned out that, he was like, well, he tried to walk away from him. He actually got tasered and he actually died. So he was killed in the midst of intervening in situations because, we just don't know what's going on in these specific cases. It's hard to decipher, should I get involved and stop this? I mean, I know that I've seen, situations going on and I'll yell at it from afar. Hey, what y'all doing over there? And I call it a day, but I don't get like too close involved because you just don't know. And just like my friend Vita was saying, she said, just call the police. It's the safest thing to do. Nowadays, Vita, I ain't gonna say, be careful about calling the police. I'm telling you know exactly what I'm talking about. In town, in our own town, Vita, do you remember when that man's wife called the police on him and he ended up dead? You got to be careful. It was a domestic violence situation, and they called the police and they ended up shooting him. And we got to be careful about even calling the police. I have to say that because the police is supposed to, protect and serve, but it's just really not. It's not boiling down to that.
Yeah, it's an impossible situation, and like I said, if you see a woman getting beat down to where she cannot defend herself, and the guy's upper hand, get the man off the woman, just like you did if he was beating a child or something like that. But going beyond that, situations like what you just explained can happen. Because a lot of women, they will put themselves in a man's place.
Yes.
And many men, they don't go for that. Now, a man should A man should not beat on a woman. A man should just try to defend himself. And once he's safe from the woman, just stop hitting whatever he's supposed to do. But you cannot go by what a man should do. That's not how adults think. That's how a child thinks. Ladies, you have to be adults out there. You're the fair sex. You have to be smarter. It's not the other way around. We don't have to be more mature. We're bigger than you. We're stronger than you. We're a totally different species than you. We don't have to be the intelligent one. We don't have to be the one that have class or the one that's the more level-headed. We're bigger and stronger than you.
Right.
The average bodybuilder woman cannot even beat me, a 180-pound, 6-foot man, in an arm wrestling match.
Right. You saw that? The lady that she's the strongest woman in the world. My husband was showing that to me today. Strongest lady she's the strongest woman in the world. And she was taking on arm wrestling matches with just your random men, and she was losing. So women have to understand that. You know, we were looking at some things about how men are trying to insert them men who want to dress like women are inserting themselves into the women's world, you know, and overtaking it. So we were watching some things about that, and you're right. It's important. It's important that that men understand their strength and women understand men's strength.
Yeah,
I think just like Vita was saying. Vita said, "I teach." She said, I teach my daughters not to hit men. And that's definitely something that should be taught. They're not teaching them. I'm telling you, most single women are teaching their daughters they don't need a man and that they should defend themselves against a man if the man says something to them that they don't like. But you can't be like that, because I don't know if you were on yet when I showed this video. This video shows this woman hitting and kicking and punching this man, and then he's taking it and taking it and taking it, and eventually he's just like, he throws her around like a rag doll, punches her. I mean, and I'm not saying that he was right for how hard he hit her or how hard he how hard he did her. But the thing is that women have to understand they can't entice a man to utilize his physical strength. And then when he does, you sit back and play the victim like, oh my God, I can't believe you just did that. Well, we can't believe you just did what you just did. So
that's what bullies do. And I didn't see the video, but I can kind of get the gist of it. And I'm going to say two things. I don't want to hijack the show, but I'll just say two things. If you want to keep me here, that's fine. But the first thing, when women teach their daughters those principles about not how to try to, overpower a man and do this to a man, that's a good thing. I'm going to touch on that in a second. But what I wanted to mention was the BITCH factor. I don't know if I can curse on here. I won't. But the BITCH factor. In other words, if a man hits a woman, he's a BITCH. Therefore, he shouldn't try to do it, because if he does, he's a, whatever. Now, most men, and I'm talking about 90% of men, do not want to be that. They don't want to be known as a punk, or so they won't hit a woman just for the fact that they don't want to be known as a B. But you got that 10% of men who don't give a damn. And they can be a BITCH because they're the one in charge. They're the ones with the upper hand. So it doesn't matter. It's like if me and a dude is fighting and he pulls out a knife or a gun, he's a punk for pulling out a knife and a gun. But he's a punk with a knife and a gun against somebody with some skin. You feel me?
Yeah.
So it don't matter if he's a punk. He has the upper hand. So I'm gonna die, and he's gonna be a BITCH. But guess what? He's still alive and kicking.
Yeah.
So, the B factor does come into effect with most men, but don't use that as a weapon, ladies, to attack all men, because some men don't give a dang about being a B. They know they are already. So if you come and exacerbate that, they're gonna do some stuff, and they do not care about that situation. And last thing, my daughter, I'm gonna teach her the exact same thing. If there's a domestic dispute with my daughter and her man, I'm gonna tell her, he's bigger than you. Yes, he's wrong. Yes, he shouldn't have been smelling like a stripper and having glitter on his face from the strip club. Yes, he shouldn't have gotten a text at 2 a.m. You know, yes, he should have been flirting with the same girl at the checkout for the millionth time.
Yeah.
Yes, that's true. But if you get into an argument, remember, he is bigger than you. If it's going to go to another level, make sure you're around another man to defend you. Call me, call one of your uncles, call one of your friends, but do not be alone with a man and have that situation where you want to go toe to toe or use that threatening language toward him. Because if you guys are alone and he's just crazy like that, it's not going to work out for you. I'm going to teach my daughter that. I will never teach my daughter to disrespect a man. I'm going to teach my daughter to respect everybody, but especially a man who you're one-on-one with nobody else around. She's going to know, no matter what society says, no matter what your ratchet-ass friends say, he's bigger than you. He's stronger. Do not try and challenge a man on that level. Don't call him a B. Don't call him an F word, the F-A, you know, that word.
The FB word.
Because many times he'll let it go. 90% of men will let it go. They'll say she's crazy, whatever, leave the house. But some men, you call them the F word, the FA word, or the B word, they're going to drop bombs. Yeah. So now daddy got to come and commit murder because you was popping off at the mouth. And I told you not to your whole childhood. So that's what I got to say about that.
And that makes, and I definitely agree with that. They have to, it's like men, they don't want to be called these things, but see, like a lot of women, we have to understand that women are emotional, like we're emotional creatures. And so we always tend to lead with that emotion. And so instead of like trying to understand or think on a logical level, we just act out of an emotion. Well, men have emotions too. They're not necessarily emotional creatures, so they tend to think on more of a logical level. But when you have pushed a man so far, you're not, it's not, the logic's just out the door because what they've been trying to think is not working anymore. And there's some, like I was saying, you just don't know what was going on before. Thank you, James. I appreciate that. You just don't know what was going on in the situation before. I've watched men, like I've watched videos. There was like this, an experiment that they were doing. And I've watched videos where you watch a video of a man beating on a woman. Yeah. And you're like, oh my God, poor God. Oh my God, he needs to stop. And then you rewind the video and you see what she was doing to cause this. And then you're like, oh, well, she deserved that. So you have to be so careful when you're trying to go in and, you know, and because there was one video I watched, it was a man that was beating a woman in the middle of the projects. And it ain't no telling.
Yeah. You froze, but hold on. Yeah, you froze. So if you're speaking to me, I can't hear you. Yeah, your screen froze. Sorry about that. Yeah, I apologize if you asked me a question because you froze. I'm not sure if you're talking to me or asking me a question. You're froze. I'm gonna leave and I'm gonna come right back. See if that works.